Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Carter. I love talking about movies, horror movies, superhero movies, and comic books. If you're interested in any of that, stick around. Today I will be talking about Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim, which is the new animated Lord of the Rings prequel film that just released on Friday, December 13th, or whatever day today is. And honestly, I didn't know anything about this film. Usually I like to shout out writers, directors, cast, when I'm making these reviews or these little fun YouTube silly videos. Unfortunately, I don't have my laptop on me, and I genuinely don't know who wrote, directed, did the cinematography, or starred in this film. I didn't know anything about it when I went and saw it. I knew it was animated. I did not know it was a very heavily Japanese-inspired animation. And so this was like a total blind watch for me, which was kind of refreshing. There's not a lot of times when I go to the theater and there's a complete blind watch that I'm sitting down to see. So I was pretty excited to check this out. So guys, how would you rank the Lord of the Rings films? You can throw in the Hobbit films. Let me know what you thought about Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim down in the comment section below. Getting right into the positives, I thought that some of the characters in this film were very memorable and really enjoyable. I'm someone who's like a casual fan of the Lord of the Rings. I love Peter Jackson's trilogy. I think it's one of the best movie trilogies of all time. I've read the Hobbit book and I've seen the Hobbit films. I've seen a little bit of Rings of Power. I've dabbled in the Lord of the Rings books. I'm not like a huge super fan though. I had a lot of questions throughout the film, and I'm not someone that the lore is extremely important to me, so if this film got something wrong, or if I get something wrong in the review, just let me know down in the comments below. I guess, I mean, it's not one of my like super big fan. Obviously, I'm a mega fan of stuff. Lord of the Rings is just not one of those things I'm extremely passionate about. So, like I said, the characters in this film are really interesting, especially Hera, who is the lead here. She is the daughter of Helm, who is my personal favorite character. I thought that most of the main characters here, specifically Helm and his family, and the villain Wolf, were really engaging here, and I just loved their dynamic, their interactions. The story of Wolf and his revenge was pretty compelling, and it's just interesting to see these flawed characters occupy Middle-earth and just see how everything would unfold. I think the animation and the art style lends a lot to the depiction of those characters. I love how some of them are just depicted as very angelic and regal, and then others are just very animalistic and violent, like Wolf. I thought that everything to do with Helm, specifically like his character arc and story, his action sequences, was just super engaging and fun and interesting. I thought that they did a fantastic job with that, and I thought that the story was really engaging for the most part, at least. I thought that the bookends worked pretty well, and that the big action set pieces really played in the favor of the film. I really enjoyed the action in this film. I think it was done very, very well. Getting into the mixed, I mean, I'm not a huge Lord of the Rings lore fan, and so some of the stuff that it just kind of pads its runtime with further references, whether that be world building, or just kind of like showing different creatures, showing little adventures that happens, or references to the original trilogy. As fun as it was, I thought it wasn't needed, and I'll get into that in the negatives, but it just kind of dragged the film down a little bit for me. I also think that the animation, while beautiful at some points, was very weird when it would switch to 2D or 3D, or just like very heavily strange. It just looked so strange at some points, like when she's running through the forest and the horse jumps over a log, the log just looks horrible. Sometimes the horses look terrible. There's moments where animators would just reuse the same kind of actions, like there's a character that's talking to Helm in the beginning of the film and he does this for 4 minutes. And that was very distracting. It's such a nitpick, but it's something that I noticed, something that drew me away from the film. I do like the score. That would go in the positives. I just totally forgot to mention that here. I do like the score, and I think that the writing in this film it's still in the mixed, to where I think that it had moments of really good and interesting things, but again, those references to further Middle-earth, those scenes kind of exploring the lore, as someone who's a casual fan, it didn't really make sense for me, and I just found it to be honestly distracting. And going into the negatives here, I think that this was honestly just a little bit too long. I think that it was suffering from the Across the Spider-Verse problem, to where it overindulged itself at some points and could kind of veer off into side moments with different characters that just weren't needed. I think this really would have benefited from another pass on the script, kind kind of just cutting down on that extra fat and fluff, and then just kind of being sharper in the editing room. I think it really would have benefited from just being cut a little bit more. There was a lot of stuff here that felt like it was just kind of tacked on, and the pacing really was the worst thing about this film. It starts out pretty interesting, and then it just takes a long break, and there's a lot of time passages, a lot of gaps in time here. It takes long breaks between large action sequences or large character moments, and for me, while I was engaged in what the characters were doing, I think there was maybe one too many characters to where I couldn't really just understand or comprehend or get behind the character motivations. The character beats didn't feel all that fleshed out, and so honestly the writing here and the pacing really suffered, and it made the film worse for it. I really would have enjoyed the film if it had been a lot tighter. Cut some of the needless side characters, cut some of the just creature things. I think that just showing part of the larger world, well, interesting, and it shows just kind of, it's like teasing what could come next or teasing some more Lord of the Rings stuff. Just felt a little overindulgent. Now, of course, this is a movie that's most likely for Lord of the Rings or anime fans, of which I'm a casual Lord of the Rings fan. I do not care for anime in the slightest, so I'm probably going to be more harsh on this than most people will. If you like Lord of the Rings or if you like anime, I'd recommend this film. I think it has a lot of really interesting things that it does with Lord of the Rings. I think the action is really fun here. It goes pretty violent at some points. The characters are interesting and engaging, but it, again, is pretty bloated and overstuffed. So overall, Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim is going to get a 6.5 out of 10 for me. Pretty good. I enjoyed it for sure, but I just think it has a myriad of issues that held it back from me really liking it, really loving it, and giving it a great score. As always, guys, thank you so much for your support, and have a great rest of your day.